Thank you for shedding some time for me and for us. Um,
I always got
I,
time for you guys. You're the most important. What's more important than you and our people, you know?
no, listen, you are a very very sought after man in our community. You did a live podcast with CrossFit yesterday. Was that correct?
Yes,
How
it
did
was.
how did that go?
That was great. The primary reason why they wanted to have me on was to talk about Rob Orlando's a buddy of mine who's dealing with a bunch of kind of scary health issues right now, and we're trying to fundraise some money to help subsidize his bills. So
Mm,
we're doing this thing called a cold bar challenge, where you set a barbell up in the corner with a good amount of weight, and every time you pass by it, you gotta pick it up, or you can just donate money. um, but
or both.
Rob and I were like, we started in CrossFit together, and we were both kind of at that time, at least, like the stronger dudes around the sport.
Yeah.
So a lot of guys knew him, and yeah, I mean, like a lot of folks in recent years, there's been just a bunch of cancer. Just a good case of the cancer circulating around there, and he's been through the ringer over the past year. So we're trying to see if we can do a little something for him. He's a great guy, really hardworking bro, and a total thunder bro through and through.
Yes, he is. Yeah.
Where all this stuff was born in the garage with him.
Yeah, I did not have the pleasure to meet him, but when I used to train at Deuce with Logan Gelbrick, he was a big strongman advocate with Rob. So
Oh yeah,
I understood a lot of the teachings.
you can look up videos of him if you go to like the 2010. This is on like the CrossFit archives, but do the 2010 CrossFit California road trip. That
Okay.
was a great video series, like him and I and Dave Castro, and we'd go visit gyms and lift heavy weight and stuff. And then there was the Tahoe Throwdown, which was really cool. And then if you just Google him, you'll see like crazy feats of strength, which is like Rob lifting in his basement in his pajamas. Good stuff.
That's awesome. Well, I wanted to you had a post a little while ago, and I wanted to make sure that our Facebook community got more of an in-depth kind of explanation on it. And I love this. I think everyone should know about this. You talked about how men and women sometimes have their trainings mixed up. The men want to lift heavy, they want to lift all the weights, and the ladies, they want to do all the cardio, and you think that, hey, we should switch that. And I think the video you had was really awesome and concise, but I think if you can go into some finer detail on why that training should be switched, like what is it mechanistically in women and men that makes that happen.
Yeah, great question. So I think the post you're talking about was really just to illustrate the perception differences amongst men and women about what they think they should be doing, and where that comes from, right? So I think a lot of women, especially as they get older, things start to change hormonally and with bodies, that you're entering pre, post, and perimenopause. And so with that hormonal shift, you sometimes see metabolism change, right? And that metabolism change might not just be like, hey, I'm not burning the same amount of calories I used to burn, but also the storage response in the body, having diminished insulin sensitivity, being more sensitive to cortisol, and essentially being, much more sensitive to carbohydrate intake as a whole. And so the reactive, action is usually, hey, I got to go do a bunch of cardio, so the girls love like just doing hours of cardio and lots of like light stuff, Pilates, Zumba, all the light, even high intensity stuff. Even CrossFit, for instance, is a good example of that too. It's just like lots of conditioning based things, but in reality, what they really need the most is lifting and loading, because the best way to increase your metabolism or your insulin sensitivity, or to deal with some of the issues that will pop up amongst females, like bone mineral density issues, because women are much more susceptible to osteoporosis as they get older, is going to be lifting and muscle mass. So their training really should look more like meathead training. Every girl's like, well, we're get too bulky. That's never going to happen. You don't have the hormones for that to happen. Even if you tried, it's never, that is a big misconception that people, think like, well, I'm going to get bulky if I lift weights. No, what's going to happen is you're going to build muscle. You're going to build better tone, which is really, it's not just the weight, it's the composition. And because of that muscle now, it's going to be easier for you to reduce the excess body fat. And usually the weight drops down along with it. So that's really important for the ladies. I mean, listen, building muscle is also really important for the guys, but for the guys, I would say that they deal with a different set of issues, and the majority of those really common long-term health outcomes tend to shift more towards cardiac related issues, right? So like heart attacks, heart disease, high cholesterol, hypertriglyceridemia, just things that are kind of in that, hey, I've got a tire around my waist now, and I get a little bit winded walking up sets of steps, but I'm happy to go in the gym and like pump iron all day. So the guys really, because cardio is so beneficial for your cardiovascular system, it's like they really should do more cardio. That also helps keep their weight down, because they usually have a decent amount of muscle mass at that point in their lives. Like their BMI, the body mass index, is already pretty high. So it's more about like having good lungs, having good capacity, and keeping your weight at a manageable level. It's not bulking season anymore for guys to get older, right? And that's why you don't see a lot of huge guys in their 60s and 70s, because it takes a lot of work for your heart to keep all the tissue alive, right? You have a lot more tissue than the ladies, a lot more lean tissue, and you're not dealing with that same catastrophic hormonal decline. And there are great options for guys too. Just being on like testosterone replacement therapy helps preserve a lot of muscle mass. Just getting regular lifting in, eating high protein diets help maintain a lot of muscle mass. But in terms of like what we're prioritizing in training, usually the cardio is like not even a priority at all. Likewise for the older ladies, usually heavy lifting is not even a priority at all, when in reality, those may be the most important things. So, I mean, I love lifting weights and I love feeling strong, but I do find myself like just conditioning regularly now, doing cardio just to try to keep my lungs up. That helps me also regulate my blood pressure as I get older. It also helps keep my body mass in check, because there have been times where I've like just lifted weights and eaten big and gotten up to 258 pounds, which is awesome. That's really cool, but not maybe ideal for long-term health outcomes. So, I realized that maybe I'm a little bit better off around that 225, 230 range and having good capacity for the long game. And for the lifting, like a lot of guys, I've spent my entire life lifting. So like, I don't need to lift for 2 hours a day. If I can get 4 sessions in for 45 minutes, that's enough for me to at the very least maintain my strength. And in some cases, if I want to push, even maybe build it a little bit. So yeah, I think, it's just a mindset, amongst people. And it's funny to me that, a lot of those communities, especially as you get older, I think about like my parents, like they just get completely back. Like my mother needs to be touching some heavy loading. My dad needs to be able to like run 400 meters without feeling like he's dying.
I think a big play into that especially is social media, and a lot of conversations that I have with people at the gym or people that are looking to get into Thunderbro, whether it's anything. Like you even said it in a podcast a while ago about like it doesn't matter what you do as long as you're doing something. But I think that we get these ideas of what we should look like, especially with the whole Ozempic kick. A lot of people get these like really like hollow thin looks, and people think, hey, this is what I have to look like even when Instagram was getting really, really big, I was looking at dudes that were just absolutely shredded and looking just completely yacked out of their minds, thinking this is what the man has to look like and this is what the female has to look like. So I think social media and what we see in like movies and stuff is what we have to be.
Yeah, and it's really hard with an online program where you have a lot of people. You've got different ages, different genders, different goals, different biometrics. Some people are in one boat versus another, right? So I think what I love to do is provide folks the best raw tools, like the best lifting we can come up with, the best, plyometric, explosive work we can come up with, the best conditioning options we can, the best cardio progressions we can. And then from there, it really offers them the ability to build out their own adventure on the app where like, if you just want to like train 3 days a week for 45 minutes, you can absolutely do that. You do Muscle Anarchy Express Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and get a great lifting program. You can spend the rest of your time doing conditioning and cardio work, and those options are in there. So you might like kind of pull these levers or, shift them up or down depending on where you're at and where you're trying to go. If you're someone who's like, hey, I'm just trying to get as big as I possibly can right now, no problem. We got a lot of great volume. And so we got like machine head, right? I mean,
Right.
you're going to get annihilated. You're going to build a tremendous amount of muscle on machines, like, 90 minutes of hard lifting. That's going to fit the boat really well right there. And maybe there isn't as much cardio. If you're somebody who's like, yeah, like I need to do cardio, but I'm super duper banged up, we have like low impact options. Or if you're someone who's like, I still want to compete in the tactical games, well, okay, there's like CrossFit and grunt work options too. So I think it's important to understand like there's no one formula. What I think we can do is we can be like, here are the best raw ingredients we can give people. And this is built into a lot of the subscriptions we put, like the bundles and things like that. It's like you can kind of pick and choose and create the right formula for yourself. Or even better, you can get on the phone with one of us and we can talk to you and be like, what's going on? What are you trying to do? Where are you at? And then we can make a recommendation and show you how to actually customize this stuff to best fit your needs. Maybe it's a lot of this and not so much of that, or vice versa. But that's really, I think from a training perspective, there's no cookie cutter approach. Every athlete is going to be a little bit different and a little bit of a different place. And I think as long as there's some representation of those core foundations of what needs to, you always need to have decent aerobic capacity. You always need to be strong. You always need to be in a workable level of body fat. There's, those core elements, you can lean on those individual pillars more or less.
Yeah. And I think just for the last question before we head into the next meeting, because I get this question a lot, especially for people that want to build an aerobic capacity. They also want to, put some size and strength on. Common question is, do I do my cardio first? Do I weight train first, or do I do my cardio after? Especially for people that don't have 2-a-day options, or they only have like 3 or 4 days to work out. What do you tell them?
Yeah, I think, usually behind the nature of those questions is some level of belief that those things run interference with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if I do my cardio, it's going to affect my lifting and the way I respond to lifting, or vice versa. And there can be some truth to that depending on how much you're doing. If it's just like a reasonable amount of cardio, if it's not like an hour of cardio, you're really not going to run much interference at all. If you're doing a 12-minute conditioning workout at the end of your lifting session, you're not going to like turn off the growth mechanism, right?
Yeah.
I find myself now, just personally, I kind of like to use a little bit of like a cardio as a warm-up, just to get things going. So even like if you look at our programs, like actually most of our Muscle Anarchy programs now have these like heat up circuits where it's like a little bit of conditioning mixed in with like, prep. So you're getting your heart rate up. For stuff where people are doing, like, let's say they're doing a shred and they have a good amount of cardio, right? They've got like 35, 40 minutes of steady state cardio and like a lifting session. Ideally, separating those two would be great, just so you're not spending like 2 hours in the gym. So like, and I like the cardio to be like, just roll into it. You don't have to make it a whole thing. Just like roll into it and start doing some uphill walking with your weight vest, and that way you don't kill your whole day. And you've got in-gym session as a separate thing. Sometimes people don't have the ability to do that, so we got to like tack it on. So what I'll have them do sometimes is like, okay, you've got 30 minutes of cardio, start with 15 as a warm-up, end with 15 as a cool down. That can work really well too. Or even sometimes like, the cardio in gym or as a separate kind of session is so hard that we'll just have them spread it out throughout the day and go on like 10-minute brisk walks after meals, right? So if you've got like, you do that 3 times, that's your 30 minutes of cardio. You're still getting your steps and activity in with that. Another way you can do it is completely separate the days. So you can be like, this is my lifting day, this is my conditioning day, and you can go a little deeper in the conditioning. Like you can really do a full conditioning session And the truth is with lifting, as long as you're getting like 3 good lifts in a week, and I would probably recommend the largest muscle groups in the body, right? So like, legs, chest, back, you're going to hit most of the muscles really well with those muscle groups. As long as you're getting at least 3 good sessions in, you can condition 2 or 3 times a week. And for a lot of folks, they're kind of like alternating their CrossFit with the lifting, right? So they'll be like, okay, this is my CrossFit workout day. It's, Cindy or whatever, doing long aerobic stuff. And then the alternate days, it's just lifting. So again, like there's lots of ways to work it. There's no real wrong answer because you've got ideal and then you've got in reality what's going to work, and what's going to work is what's going to allow for consistency. So it's usually a better option than the ideal way, right? I mean, it's got to fit you and your lifestyle. So I hate it when people get so nerdy and geeked out on the science that they're doing something that's now like taking away from other aspects of their life and other aspects of their health, maybe their mental health, family dynamic. That's not the point. Like you can do the best you can with what you've got, and you're doing great.
Amazing. Thanks, Dave. So point is, don't do a high rocks and then go into a powerlifting meet. Got it.
Yeah, I mean, like you could if you wanted to. It's probably not you're trying to like set a world record in powerlifting or set a world record in high rocks. Yeah. It's probably not the best idea. But if it makes you feel super duper fulfilled and keeps you excited to come in the gym and do a consistency over a long period of time, sure, like why not? I had a guy that he was doing a bodybuilding show. And we had been prepping for a while. I don't know if you remember Dr. Ryan Hewitt. He's got this whole company, Weaponized Wellness, a great, amazing guy. Actually does like a lot of longevity work with some of our clients. And he wanted to do his first bodybuilding show, and we prepped hard. I mean, we got him all the way up to like 210 pounds. We cut him all the way back down to like almost 180. And he was jacked on stage. And like 2 weeks before his show, which we were like meticulously like writing his schedule and his diet, like down to the ounce for every snack, right?
Oh, man.
He's like, hey, I'm thinking about doing like a 50-mile rucksack race. 50-mile ruck or something. I was like, okay, is it a good idea? And I go, well, no, it's not. If your goal is the show, it's probably not the best idea. Can you do it? Like, yeah, we can do it. Like how much is it going to affect you? Maybe a little bit,
Sure.
like you've invested so much in this. That's why like a lot of people they invest so much into these individual endeavors that they don't want to sacrifice an inch. But if you're the type of person, I just want to be able to do this and jump into a rucksack race whenever I want to. Listen, he's the most jacked guy at the rucksack race. But he did it, and is obviously a sub for his cardio. We gave him a lot more fuel and carbs. We gave him a little bit of rest in between. There was a little bit of water retention that followed it, but he still did great at the show. He looked amazing. So there's that kind of. I don't think it's ever a question of right or wrong. It's only a question of context and compromise, right? So what are you willing to compromise, or what's the context by which we're making the decision? Who are you and what are you trying to do?
Thanks, Dave.
There it is.
Thank you for that.
You nailed it. Hope Dr. Ryan sees that. I want him to put